Chapter 10, Friday, March 9th. Money saved, $45.06. Lexi's signs still hung from the school halls, taunting me. Their glitter reflected off the fluorescent ceiling lights like a million sparkling diamond specks of mockery. I stared at a sign featuring a worm with glasses. "Be a bookworm," the sign jeered. I wanted to squash it. Although I hated to admit, the worm was pretty cute. "This stinks," I growled to Malcolm as we stared at the revolting tutoring sign. "I should tutor kids for money." Malcolm laughed. "Supply and demand. No one is demanding your tutoring, and you can't supply it anyway." "Sure I could." "Who would pay you to tutor?" "Lots of people," I huffed. "Name one." "Well, okay, I couldn't name anybody." "She can't win. I'll never hear the end of it. She'll brag about Fluffernutter the rest of our lives." "You'll try your best and—" Malcolm didn't get it. I cut him off. "No, trying isn't good enough. I have to win. I have to do more than win. I have to demolish her. Don't you understand? This is payback for all the terrible things she's done." "Like what?" mumbled Malcolm. I sensed skepticism in his voice. "Like being born before me and being smart. 2 months ago, Mom said, 'Why can't you get good grades like your sister?' Well, maybe I don't want good grades." Malcolm blinked. "Why wouldn't you want good grades?" "That's not the point," I raged. "Don't you see? There's a lifetime of wrongs here. Grades are just the tip of the iceberg. With Miss I'm more perfect than you, I have to put her in her place. Show her who's boss." Malcolm shook his head. "I thought this was about getting a dog." "Well, that too." As I tromped into language arts class, I overheard Mr. Corgi talking to Noah Grum. Noah was a grade ahead of me. He was tall and played basketball. He didn't seem like the smartest guy in school, though. He always walked around with his mouth open. It's hard to look intelligent if you walk around with your mouth open. Plus, flies can swarm inside. Or drool can dribble down your chin. It's hard to look smart with drool on you, too. "You should call Lexi for help," suggested Mr. Corgi. "Her phone number is on those terrific signs in the hallway." "Thanks a bunch, Mr. Corgi," Noah beamed, wiping his chin. "Lexi is a great student," Mr. Corgi added. "She'll help you a lot." I was sick of hearing about Miss Perfect Student everywhere I went. I grabbed Noah's arm. "She can't help you," I blabbered. "She's too busy. She's closed for business. She broke her arm. She's very sick and can't get out of bed." "I saw her in the hallway 5 minutes ago," said Noah. "Well, her illness was very sudden," I explained. I'm not sure if Noah was convinced, but much, much worse, my own teachers were recommending Lexi. Mr. Corgi, who had the last name of a dog, for heaven's sake, was helping my sister get a cat. It was hard enough living up to Little Miss Can't Do Anything Wrong all day, but now this? I sat down in my seat with an angry plop. The conversation repeated itself in my head all day, too. "You should call Lexi for help. Lexi is a good student." "Cheer up," said Malcolm at lunchtime. "You're not the one facing a life with Fluffernutter," I moaned, removing the lettuce from my turkey sandwich. Mom insists on adding lettuce to my sandwich every day, and every day I remove it. "What if Lexi came down with a terrible disease?" I added. "No one will hire her then." "Like what?" scoffed Malcolm. "Annoying sisteritis?" Malcolm rolled his eyes. "It's all about supply and demand, remember? You just have to figure out what you can supply." Malcolm pointed to the lettuce lying on the table. "You're like that. Unwanted, no demand, a worn-out, dried-up piece of wilting lettuce, a sensitive sprig of parsley." "If this is your idea of a pep talk, you're not very good at it." Malcolm just shrugged. "But you're right. I'm parsley," I whimpered. "That's exactly what I am. I can't tutor. I can't carry grocery bags. I can't throw a telethon." I ripped a bite off my sandwich, pretending it was Lexi's head. I chewed extra hard, but I didn't feel better. I just felt worthless. "You're good at stuff," said Malcolm. I stared at him and scratched my chin. Then I scratched some more. "I'm drawing a blank here." "You're good at soccer." "Was good," I moaned. "You're just rusty." "You're a good friend." I rolled my eyes. "Great. You want to pay me $500? And you're a pretty good writer, said Malcolm, ignoring my comment. You got an A on that social studies report about igloos last month. I got a B, and you wrote half of it. I thought everyone got an A on that social studies report. As long as it was 5 pages, you got an A. I only wrote 4 pages. There just isn't that much to say about igloos. I ripped off another chunk of turkey sandwich and munched unhappily. You're going to win. You're going to earn that money, said Malcolm. Then how? I waited for Malcolm to answer, but he didn't. Back home, I felt as depressed as a leaky bike tire. Mom was at work. Lexi was tutoring in the kitchen. I needed air. I grabbed my bike and rode downtown. Maybe I'd find a new help wanted sign. I'd do anything at this point, even a job as a horseradish taster. I found 2 help wanted signs, but I didn't have my own car, so I couldn't be a pizza delivery guy. And I wasn't going to set foot inside the beauty salon, in case someone from school saw me. There was no way I would ever live that down. I even looked into a couple of trash cans for returnable bottles, but I found nothing. I dragged myself into the Upechus pet store. They didn't have a help wanted sign out front, but I asked the manager if he had any odd jobs. He didn't. I told him that if he paid me $500 right then and there, I'd work for free for the rest of my natural-born life. He still wasn't interested. That seemed like a pretty good offer to me. But I didn't leave. I trudged past the bird cages and the fish supplies, past the lizards and cat toys, all the way back to where they kept the dogs. They sat in stacked cages behind a big glass wall in a small, enclosed, carpeted room. If you'd asked, you could play with a dog for a few minutes before you bought one. There were 8 cages, 5 with dogs, and 3 empty ones. That meant 3 newly adopted dogs. Somewhere, 3 families happily played fetch and rolled around meadows that weren't imaginary. But not me. All the dogs here were puppies. A boxer, a dachshund, a border collie, and 2 golden retrievers. I focused on the golden retrievers because they reminded me of younger alfalfas with their light brown hair. That just made me sadder. I wondered how Alfalfa was doing. Was he happy? Had he made any doggy friends? Did anyone know which ear he liked scratched best and how long he liked his tummy rubbed? Probably not, poor guy. One of those retrievers in the cages jumped around, tongue out, excited. Just looking at it made me smile. It would be impossible to feel sad with a dog like that jumping around you all day long. The other retriever sat in its cage, way in the back. This dog didn't move and kept its head buried in its paws. But I could see its eyes peeking out and looking at me. This was a sneaky fellow. Can I see that one, please? I asked. His name is Thumper, said the pet store girl, a teenager with a pierced lip, a pierced eyebrow, and an orange streak in her hair. She unlocked the cage. He doesn't really do much, she exclaimed. He's kind of a dud. I sat on the ground and she handed Thumper to me. He didn't move, but he stuck peaks between his flaps of fur. His sister Marta is a lot more fun, said Miss Orangehair, gesturing to the other golden retriever still bouncing around. Thumper's not a dud, I said. He's just sad. I stroked his golden fur and scratched his right ear. He seemed to like that, because he closed his eyes and squirmed into my lap a little deeper. I continued rubbing and scratching. You'd be sad too if your sister got all the attention all day. She probably gets A's in school, and he always feels like he's second best. Right, boy? Thumper wiggled a little bit tighter into my legs. You'd be a lot happier if your teacher stopped comparing you to your sister all the time, and if your sister caught a disease and couldn't tutor anyone. Nothing too horrible, just one that would keep her in bed for a few weeks. I bet your sister wants a cat too, right? Thumper yawned. I'm not sure if I made him feel better, but he made me feel better. There were a lot of great kinds of dogs, but dogs that sat quietly and made you feel better were probably the best kinds of all. You know what you need, boy? I said to Thumper, staring into his dark eyes, which never seemed to blink. You just need to figure out what you're good at, that's all. Then you'd show everyone you're better than your sister at something. You're sort of weird, kid, said the pet store worker. I bet she's a cat lover, I whispered into Thumper's ear. And she has orange hair, so really, who's the weird one? Thumper nodded, I'm sure of it. I sat with Thumper for a while until the pet store girl told me if I wasn't buying Thumper, she needed to put him away. I gave Thumper a goodbye scratch and handed him to Miss Orangehair, but I felt better. The scent of dog remained on my hands even after I got home. I loved that wonderful, rugged puppy smell. If I could sell dog smell, I'd be so rich I could buy 1,000,000 dogs. But I didn't need 1,000,000 dogs, I just needed one. I needed a dog playing peekaboo under his paws, shyly pretending not to look at me as he wiggled into my lap. I felt low all night, especially because Lexi sat in the kitchen hour after hour tutoring. When Noah Grum entered the house, I groaned. It was just another reminder of my teachers working against me. I sat on the couch trying to think of ideas, but my mind was empty. All my ideas were locked in a cage like a pet store dog. I stared at my notebook. The pages remained empty. When Noah finally left, Lexi sat down on the couch next to me. I shot her 2 evil eyes. "I could tutor you on how to make money," she giggled. "I know how to make money," I snapped. "It's all about supply and demand. I'm in a lot of demand." "Yes, everyone wants to hire worthless baby brothers." "I'm not a baby," I grumbled, "and this isn't over. Thumper understands. He won't let Marta beat him, and I won't let you." "Baby brother, I have no idea what you're talking about." Lexi leaned back on the cushions. "Where do you think we should put Fluffernutter's litter box?" She pointed to the corner of the room. "Over there?" I felt my face turning red with anger. "I don't hear any purring in this house yet." "Then you must not be listening." "Shh, hear that?" I stiffened. Had she bought a cat already? Yes, I can practically hear Fluffernutter's soft, mellow meowing as she licks her milk from her bowl. So she didn't have a cat, not yet. Relieved but annoyed, I jumped up. Yeah, I stammered. "Well, I'll lick you." "Gross, you're not licking me." "I mean, in our money battle. I wouldn't actually lick you," I admitted. "That's disgusting." "You're disgusting." You are. You are a disgusting, flea-bitten, catnip-craving furball freak," I shouted. Where was Malcolm when I finally came up with a great insult? It didn't faze Lexi, though. She laughed. "Even if I were a catnip-craving freak, I also happen to be crushing you at earning money. So you know what that makes you?" I shrugged. "Losing." Lexi was laughing so hard she had to hold her stomach. I marched upstairs, but her laughter lingered in my ears for so long, I eventually needed to use a Q-tip to get it out. Our next chapter is Chapter 11, Saturday, March 10th. Money saved, $45.06.